Hello, everybody. My name is Alicia. I'm a trainer and an educator, and I am here with my very, very good friend. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny. I'm a tutor, and I used to be colleagues with Alicia, and we're good friends now. And we are always having great conversations. So we thought, why not share some of our pearls of wisdom and thoughts with the nation? So as we're all in lockdown, a great place to start a great conversation.
Can I say, Jenny, your hair looks absolutely fantastic.
I don't know why, because it's lockdown hair.
Lockdown hair. I, on the other hand, have developed these two kind of like grey, they've not just developed by accident. I've had them dyed for the longest time and thought, do you know what, I'm going to try and see what I look like. I don't know how much longer I can cope with it, but this is kind of, I feel this is my authentic self and I'm feeling quite pleased with myself. But on the other hand, I'm really, I've got that bottle of dye upstairs. It's terrible for the environment and we've all become far more self. I've got a henna one as well. So I'm like,
okay, a natural one, yeah. But I like this distinguished look.
Is it distinguished, darling?
It's distinguished. If it's distinguished for men, it's distinguished for ladies too.
Yes. I like it. So I can be my very own silver fox. Is that what we're saying?
I don't know what a female silver vixen.
Ooh, that's quite good, isn't it?
That's a nice type name, isn't it? Gardening with the silver vixen. Yeah.
This wasn't how the conversation was supposed to go.
It's a great conversation, nevertheless.
It is. And so thinking about this conversation that we're going to have, we kind of have gone slightly off track. But the conversation is about lockdown. And it is something that I found really, really interesting. And I was saying to Jenny, I just can't remember her name or the quote. And you've gone and found it. So do you want to just say what it was for us?
Yes, a chief medical officer. And her name is Jenny, so I'm not going to forget that. Jenny Harries, Harries.
And what was she saying that made us really think, ooh?
Okay, this is about a month ago, so it was quite near the beginning of lockdown, and this question had come up. A lot of people have been asking this question. Little panicked, I think some of them were, and they were asking, I'm in a relationship, but I don't live with my partner. I live on my own, I live with my parents, I live with friends. We're self-isolating, we're social distancing, what do we do? And she was on the news and she suggested that we people consider two options. The first option is to social distance, self-isolate, live where you live, stay with parents. The second option was to give it a try and move in with your better half.
Wow.
See how it goes.
Now, can you imagine this scenario? You've got somebody who is somebody who's been dating for a couple of years and they really believe that this is the time to take it to the next level. And of course, money's really tight. Just give up the tenancy. Let's just do it. Give up your tenancy. Right. We know each other. Come and move in. So either he or she does exactly that, believing that it's a sure thing. Move in together and discover things that they just had never seen before, because of course it's a time of heightened anxiety and we all behave differently, don't we? All of us with anxiety, because it's a primal response. And so then they discover that really they're not as thoughtful as it seemed like they were. In fact, probably borderline narcissistic. You can't send them back.
The worst. Yeah.
But because, I mean, we've had this conversation about narcissism before, haven't we? And it's used like sprinkling those little whatsits on tops of cakes, isn't it? It's used that easily. But what if you are the narcissist, but you just never really knew? And then how do you know? How would you know if you're working in a job where you're in, out, don't have to stop for much work? How would you know?
You're not having to think too much in your daily lives. You just get on with it. In this situation, I think people are having to really introspect a little bit and really think about how they interact with other people, because you are with someone 24 hours a day.
And that person that you've suddenly moved in with is completely different now. Suddenly if you are the one that's got those narcissistic personality traits, you're going to perceive that person as being very selfish, and the person you're with, you are going to perceive them as being very demanding and selfish, because there's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong with them?
Yeah, I mean, as we know, a narcissistic personality doesn't know, or even if they do know they're narcissistic, they don't see it as a problem, because it works for them really well, because they, have a great old time and they get what they want, and they're quite demanding. But obviously they've got to a certain age and it's worked for them. They've managed to convince people that this is the way it should be, and I should get what I want. So they're in a different environment. I think it might make a difference who moves in with who, because obviously it's more likely that one person's going to move into another person's home.
Yes.
Who would it affect more, the person who's moving in or the person who actually lives in the property anyway? I mean, that could be another dynamic, couldn't it? Like, this person is actually encroaching on my space, and then for the new person moving in, it might be a bit of an exciting holiday, or it might be, I miss my home. I'm in a new space and I don't know where the cutlery is, and it feels weird,
And then you've got when you've moved into that new home, somebody's you're getting things all wrong, things that are really rudimentary and simple in your own home you do without even thinking. You go into somebody else's home and you're thinking, oh my God, how do they like this? How do they have their toilet roll? As basic as that. Do they have it up against the wall or away from the wall?
Yes. Now, if you are an empathic person or sympathetic person, you would have those thoughts. You would wonder and think, how do they like things done?
Yeah.
If, as we mentioned, you are a narcissist, you won't even have that thought in your head to ask that, because you automatically are going to do it your way and not question whether the other person feels okay about that. You're just going to do it automatically, because you're not really thinking about what they do in their home. You're thinking, well, I'm going to do it my way. So, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic. You see, I think we'd be okay because we are a little bit more...
Are we moving in together then? Is this what you're saying?
I don't know how that works. I think we'd be okay.
Is this what you're asking me, Jenny?
That'd be fine. We'd get on. We'd work it out.
I think the biggest issue that we would have is not being able to move very far in assertiveness, because we'd always be thinking, is that all right for her? Am I gonna, do I do this?
I don't know if we'd get past the Malbec and the 90s music playing on a loop in the background on YouTube, to be honest.
Playing on a loop. Al Green. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't stop that.
So it'd be interesting. It'd be fun. It would be fun. But now I'll ask you a question. Would you consider what this Jenny Harris suggested? Would you do it yourself? Were you in
Oh,
that position? Would you consider it, or would it
yeah.
depend on
No,
how long the person?
I think there are, if provided you haven't sold your house, or you've not given up your rental tenancy, then you are in quite a strong position. And I did see some people tried it for a while. There's a kind of a cautionary thing where they're saying, actually, you do need to be careful because it's not a real situation when you do that. Some people,
No.
and some people having a great deal of success. So I think if I'd been dating somebody for a year or so, and we did, get on really well, and thought, actually, you don't want to be on my own during lockdown, let's try before you buy.
Now that's something we talked about, wasn't it? What did we mean by that?
we spoke about this because before, in dating apps, and there's been lots about this, it's swipe, isn't it? Well, now, literally, you can swipe, but you can't go out to meet them. You can have this kind of a conversation in this way. But if you wanted anything more, you'd have to accept them being in lockdown after a while, wouldn't you? And especially,
how is this going to affect relationships? How is lockdown going to affect relationships long term?
If this is going to go on for a few years, can you imagine, Jenny?
What do you think will happen? Do you think
how
people will just have to zoom in and out?
Well, I don't. For the more impulsive, it could be, right, we've got a period of lockdown, let's see how this works. The next time there's a period of lockdown, you could just, well, it didn't work for that one, next.
Right, so it's going to be a lot of people moving in with each other temporarily to see how it works.
It works.
But I'm hoping, I tell you what I'm hoping, that people become more romantic again. And after the lockdown, there'll be a lot of single people who realise that they should have declared their love for that person that they like. And this has shown them that they don't want to be on their own, and they do like someone, and they're not going to be silly about it, and they're going to get together with them after out, and there'll be a lot of romantic gestures to come out of it.
Oh, Jenny, that's so nice. I do hope so.
Is that really optimistic?
I love it. Why not? I think this is a critical point. We have decisions and choices to make, and I think everything has become so disposable, and suddenly we've realised how precious even the very air, even to be able to walk next to people that we don't know, and to be able to care, that hug, I mean, we spoke about this the last time you came round, and we had to like speak at a distance, and we wanted a hug. And it's just such a fun.
It was automatic as well, and that I've had to really hold myself back when I see someone I know. I saw my sister the other day. Like, hi. We usually have a hug, and it's like, oh, okay, bye then. See you. Bye. From a distance. So it's really weird, and it worries me that could become the norm. That we actually get used to that, or that younger people get used to that, because that's all they kind of know. There's just this great distancing.
But you've made me think there about there are some people that say, actually, this is my reality anyway. I think for people that have chronic conditions, like for the past, I don't know how many years, this is a reality that I've known. And so it's not too different for me, except for the fact that when I do have social interactions, I am allowed to hug normally. But when I think about people that are gamers, and there are a lot of boy gamers, there are a lot of girl gamers, And,
Mm,
you know, when
true.
considering that, so that for them is quite normal. I wonder, with the group of people that don't live their lives in that kind of bubble and vacuum, that's where it's incredibly difficult, I think.
Mm, exactly. Those who are used to it, used to social interaction.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a difficult thing. Yeah. So, interesting.
There was
Very interesting.
there was another little question that I'd written down. So we covered narcissism.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Go
I
on.
wrote a few things down because it's such a fascinating subject, isn't it?
I
And I
think,
thought I need to, relationships in lockdown is just something that, and also, you know, personalities, your psychology, your anxiety levels, your perceptions, how you perceive things, how long you've been alone together, alone in your life, should I say. So I'm just going to have a little wander through here because, okay. So, oh, this is a good one.
go
So,
on.
so what happens to those that are serial players? Their whole life is,
Yes. Right. So let's think of the scenario. Okay. Married person.
oh,
Let's do genderless. Let's not be too
well, you
harsh.
said
Let's
married
make
person.
genderless.
That's fine.
Married person who
Married
has
person.
who maybe works away from home,
Ah,
so isn't home a lot
yes.
because they come back at the weekends,
Yeah, pop in.
whether they are,
Have a Sunday dinner. Do people
yes,
still have Sunday dinner these days?
maybe, yeah, older people like us. So yeah, the usual scenario is the
I'm not
working
old.
away in the week.
Yeah. Sorry, Greg.
Working away in the week, back at the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Done that for years. However, there is dalliance in the background or two
Dalliances,
that
yeah.
they've managed to juggle,
Yes.
manoeuvre.
Yeah.
So lockdown comes.
Oh my.
You have time off work because you're working from home.
Yeah.
You're not able to go in. You're not traveling anymore. So you're at home. Home. Question mark. Home. Question mark. Home. Where is home? With
How on
your
earth?
spouse,
Yeah.
I think. Or is
And the
it?
children,
Mm.
if and the children, if the children.
Mm.
And what if you're at home and the children have flown the nest and you're at home and you've always
Yeah,
been out? You've not.
you've always been out, you've always worked. Yes. So
What?
problems. I think there are, and we're not going to know this straight away because obviously at the moment the main issue is health and keeping people safe, keeping
Yeah.
people alive. So that is the main issue at the moment. But I think beyond this, the underbelly of this, there are going to be some serious issues.
Beyond the
Underbelly.
belly of this, I like it.
There are going to be some serious issues that come up with regards to particularly relationships. It's possibly a reason why this is a bit sad, but in the news there has been I think it's 50% rise in domestic
Oh, yeah.
abuse.
Yeah.
Probably stems from the deceptive lives of others and
The restrict.
double lives of people as well, and the restrictions. Yeah, I mean, if your life is the pub, football,
Mm.
playing away, doing things outside of the home,
And then you're in the home, stuck in the
you're
home
in the
with your
home,
husband.
and the reason why you did all those things is because you didn't want to be stuck in the home, and now you're stuck in the home.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're stuck in the home with your husband.
Or wife, yeah. Let's keep it fair.
Because you
Keep it
mentioned
fair.
all these things, I'm like, yeah, let's just.
Yeah, so you are denied. I mean, I know people whose life is the pub, football, nightclubs, socially interacting with their mates. That's it.
Mm.
That is it. And they pop home for dinner and to see the wife or the husband, and then they're out again.
Yeah.
And that works with them just because of that.
Yeah.
So
Because
what
of the
happens
freedom.
now?
Yeah. So when
You
you
know,
suddenly you're
there's a lot.
confronted with, you are
Yeah.
confronted with that person that has only
That
had
reality,
with their
yeah, you're
own.
confronted with the reality of, and also obviously for a lot of people, they don't know how long this is for. I think at first a lot of people thought, oh, it's only for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to be hell, but
Now
it's
we're
only for a
talking
couple
a
of
few
weeks.
years, aren't we? Going round in cycles.
Now they're thinking, oh, it's going to be months,
Mm.
probably before it gets back to a little bit of normality.
Mm.
And it probably never will get back to normal at all. So what does that mean for us, for me, for the family, for the situation?
In some senses, it really will require revisiting values that maybe
Yeah.
we've not had to stop and think about ever
Yes.
in our lifetime.
No,
Ever.
because we've been distracted by so many other things.
Yeah.
You know, family isn't the centerpiece anymore, but at the moment it is the centerpiece.
Yeah. Yeah.
So God bless those who can adapt and having a great time. And just to be positive, you know, there are going to be people out there having a great time and loving it and reconnecting and
And
really
I think that is something that's incredibly precious. And one of the things I don't know, you know, I don't know about you and frustrations that you may have experienced having work suck up your time. Is that I've always felt a sense of I just don't have enough time to be in connection with people in the way that I want to be. So unfortunately, I'm still not able to be in connection with
I know, it's a
people.
shame. It's a shame we can't gather all the people we want
I know.
together and be still and peaceful together. We can by Zoom, but it's not the same.
No,
But it's
no.
still good, but it's
So,
not the same. But it would be nice to have that freedom to say, I'm not at work at the moment. I've got all this free time, but I've got everybody with me who I want as well.
yeah.
That's
So some
good.
people actually do have that, don't they? And they, you know, I
In
think
their
the way
family,
that
yeah.
the world is being reshaped completely. You know, I think you've got couples at home and one's looking after the children while the other works. And I think this period in time, even if it's for a few years, it will be really interesting to see what young people emerge out of this. If they're fuller, if they're more satisfied, if they're because what will have happened is that they will have grown up closer to wisdom. And oftentimes, I think when children are growing up, you kind of accept this status quo almost that, you know, you're at home, you're the mom, and that they've got their mates and they take their wisdom from their mates. But actually, the real design and the way that we are as pack animals even is that naturally you would be looking to those that are your caregivers and are those people with more wisdom to learn from and to pass that on from. That's not happened for generations, really. For generations, what's happened is you've got two lots of kids, children, young people, and one says to the other, so what do you think we should do about that then? Now the parents would know, they'd have that wisdom. The other one goes, I don't know. I don't know about that. And the other one goes, let's go and do. So they have these important questions and just don't get an answer for it. Because it doesn't matter. Because they can, don't matter. We're doing this or we're doing
whatever.
Yeah, and or just the grunting.
So yeah, it's really interesting because it's like, what will young people learn? They're doing something right now that they've probably never done before in their life.
Never.
They might be 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. They should be at uni now with their mates, eating baked beans or whatever and going out clubbing.
Yeah.
They're at home with their mum and dad.
Yeah. And they've got
having
the opportunity. They've got the opportunity for the first time ever
to sit down and have conversations and discuss life in a way that they they haven't been forced to do before, so they don't do it.
No.
Now it's a situation where the opportunity is there. We've been for our Sunday walk. We've had dinner. We've had a game of cards, maybe.
Well, I was going to say,
Talk.
crack open the Monopoly, you know, let's.
Yes, like Christmas, but for a longer period.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. There's people who have Christmas with their families, and they'll say to me, 2 days is enough. I've had to get out of there. 2 days was more than enough. Now it's been like, I don't know, 8 weeks. Coming up to 8 weeks, 7 weeks.
I think the one grouping
Extended Christmas.
I think the one grouping that I feel the worst for are people that are in high-rise flats.
Yeah. Oh gosh. At least we've got a lovely garden, haven't we? You know, you need that. You need that. It must be awful.
Absolutely. And you know what? If nothing else, you know, from my point of view, they used to try and construct high rises with community at heart and in the centre, but imagine designing them with the ability to have freedoms and not be locked in during lockdown. So will we in the future have to I just wouldn't have them anyway. But there are some really, really nice, 2-story ones. They've got balconies and they've got all vegetation and they've got a central point and they can. But what if you don't really like people? You're all right on lockdown then, aren't you? But when you've got children, you have to give them something more. How do you balance that human rights stuff?
Yeah, I think that's why the government's in such turmoil, because they're getting all these questions from people. I've got a hyperactive 8-year-old, and two other kids, and I live in a 2-bedroom flat. And
for years I've not been heard.
What do I do? It's difficult, isn't it? It's a very difficult situation.
Very tricky.
People must be going stir crazy, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, so I wouldn't like to be in government at this time, but I changed that. I wouldn't mind being in government at this time if I'd got the wisdom of ages. If I had the abilities to get all this right, then great. There's problems and there's solutions that you can find, but it's the time scale. You know, I mean, it's like all of the issues, all of the problems that a government normally has 5 years to tinker about with, the mess have got to be done in 2 months. Oh my Lord, how?
How exactly? How do you do this? It's absolutely unprecedented. That's the word of 2020, isn't it?
Unprecedented.
Who would have thought that?
Talking about precedenteds. Do you know who I'm going to mention now? Should I?
I don't know. Let me guess.
I've not watched the news quite so much after the past.
No, neither have I. I can't do it every day. It's actually too much.
About 4 days.
I was getting overwhelmed if I watch it every day. So I'm like, every 3 days is enough, and then I sort of take in the information.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be people on here because we are going to be online who will be like, don't listen to the news. It's very split opinion. There are people who are really following it, taking all the advice and accepting it, and there are other people who are like, no, this is ridiculous. They don't know what they're talking about. They're very confused. The information we've been given is wrong. They don't know what they're saying. So I know there's always going to be a split opinion about the government.
I'm slightly obsessed with it, if I'm honest. So I've had to tear myself.
So you're watching 24-hour stream?
Yeah, I put normal TV on for a little bit last night, and I just went, what is this? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do with it? What?
No, I want the news.
Where's the news? I was like slightly panicked. The news wasn't there in the background. So what do I do with this?
Not where's the mint, where's the news? That's another day.
That's
anyway.
Another day. We're going to cover that another.
Sorry, in joke there.
But I did find myself last night getting withdrawal symptoms because I have not seen Trump on the TV for a bit.
Tell me why you're fascinated. Tell me about Trump, but tell me why you're fascinated by the news. Might be linked, but tell me.
This this pandemic has revealed him as a character, hasn't it?
Oh yes.
And there are some aspects of him that have been a revelation.
Okay.
and there are some aspects that where you can see there's almost a naivety and a kind of a sweetness in the sense of, I don't know, it's just like he's just like a bumbling boy up there sometimes on that, and I kind of want to go,
a little kid.
I kind of want to go, now come on Trump, you have this lollipop, it's a nice idea, but injecting you know where I'm going with this, don't you? It might be a nice idea to cleanse yourself, but injecting, just no. Let's no. And the look on his medical advisor's face, I sat there like, I mean, I know this has been done to death. Probably not the best choice of words, but
I know he was embarrassed because the next day he refused to give a press conference, didn't he? Because he was wanting the questions. He knew that they were going to annihilate him. So like, no, it's all fake news. I'm not going to do a press conference. They're all going to have a go at me. So it was just that little boy being told off, wasn't it? It was like, oh yeah, how did this happen?
You can imagine as they walked out of the room and they're trying to be diplomatic with Mr. Trump, with President Trump.
Looking stricken.
Yeah. You can imagine what happened as that door closes behind them, goes, really, just no. No. And there's other times where he stood there on the podium and he's come out with things that are probably not quite as controversial as that one. I really didn't. That was just that topped, I think. and that he said things that are equally unusual. And again, you physically see people's bodies just moving away from it. It's
interesting to see the aides or his advisors behind him. I'm usually looking at them because I'm looking at their eye contact, the body language, because it's just so funny. And I remember this woman once, I think she's been sacked now because he just sacks people who disagree with him, and she was actually trying to defend him and she was struggling. You could see her job, she lost a job. You could tell that she knew she'd lost a job in her eyes. She just couldn't find the words to defend him because it was so bad what he'd said, and she was bumbling about and it wasn't grasping. And the interviewer just stared at her like, "You're in trouble, girl."
That's it. It wasn't trouble. It wasn't that one. It wasn't, Jenny. It wasn't. It wasn't that time where was the princess. You know the ship that's out in the dock. It wasn't that moment, was it, when he was stood there talking about how that they just needed to be left there to self-quarantine?
Oh no, it wasn't recently. No, I've not seen a lot of news.
Initially, there was the cruise ship, I think it was, and it was, okay. And a certain amount of people had come down with coronavirus, a really bad situation. And he was having an interview, and there were people around him again. There's always people around him, and he said,
"I wonder why." There has to be a lot of people. nudging him in the back.
Oh.
Like, no, 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 Donald, no.
And there was that moment, there was the pause after he delivered, where he said, you know, my opinion is that leave it there, let everybody, you know, but there are people, some of my colleagues, that think differently. And then the clip just went, and I thought, oh my word, what he's actually saying is, leave them all out there. They can self-isolate. Maybe we won't send some people in. It wasn't clear. And then what? And I'm like, you can't do that to them. You'll be tried for war crimes or something.
You know, like we were talking before about empathy.
Oh Lord! And then the next thing is about 2 days later. Suddenly there were these little pods where people will be led. Oh, I say 2 days later. It's probably more like 2 weeks later. Took a while for the penny to drop, and then there were these little things that were being let off. And I thought, oh, thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. But yeah, I am missing him, to be honest. There's those things that he says that they just feed me for a week. You know, I wait for those moments and then just think, oh.
Well, I just think it is so dangerous as well, though, because he's the president. It's hard to know. I'm surprised a lot more hasn't happened, or a lot worse hasn't happened. I mean, he was talking about reopening businesses.
He is. That's what he's doing.
I don't know what's happening at the moment because I don't watch the news every day, so I don't really know the situation in America, but I know that the numbers are still going up. There's no peak yet. I mean, I know it's affected New York the worst.
Oh, Lord.
And other states are not as, maybe not as concerned, I don't know. But beaches, I've seen beaches in California open, certain businesses in certain states. And he's just, I can see when he's giving his broadcast or whatever, that he's thinking, industry, economy, my business, my billions. I need to make sure that it's all running. That's more important than a few old people, he's probably thinking, is going to be affected.
I don't know. We can't really speculate that is what he's thinking, can we, Gemma? We can't really do that.
No, but Alicia, I think that, like I said, there's not much empathy there. So
we don't want to get chucked off YouTube, do we, my darling?
We don't want to get chucked off YouTube for that. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking that. But anyway, it's just an opinion. We can all have our opinion.
Yeah, but we've got to be, I mean, we can't, it's not nice to be completely ungracious, although I have just in a roundabout kind of...
No, I'm saying what I see. If you behave or act in a certain way, it's going to be commented on.
Well, this is true. He doesn't seem to have a Scooby, really, does he?
I see all the politicians in the US, and it's just how they talk. They just have a knowledge about things. They research things. They are talking based on facts and figures and research and surveys and advice and advisors. They're coming up with, you know, a lot of information. Whereas, to me, that's what politicians should be. Whatever level you're at, you should know your onions. Yeah.
But I think
that's all I'm saying. I'm not going to say anything more about him, but you should know your onions.
I think what has happened is that I think his colleagues as a resource are being far more drawn upon to listen to, and I think there's a different model of communication that he's adopted just lately, it seems to be.
He loves his tweets as well, doesn't he?
His tweets. I'm thinking his treats. What are they? What?
I don't know. I don't want. Thank you.
We won't go there. I think
We won't go there.
no,
Yeah.
but
So it's been good, and you've been watching the news, and yeah, you've enjoyed it. It has been like a serial drama, actually.
oh
Watching the news,
yeah.
it's unreal, but it's all unreal anyway. To be
I,
to
I,
fair.
I really felt like I needed a break from life before lockdown. So this for me has been a time to, I found myself just as busy, but it's been a time to rejuvenate just a little. But it is very real. It's very surreal, and it's very, I think it's, if we're wise, we will use this as an opportunity to completely reorientate ourselves in the world and to do all of those things that the world has been crying out for. You know, there's a point at which, you know, we've had the icebergs melting, and we've had David Attenborough laying out the charge for years and years. And then we've had, you know, the other environmentalists saying, you know, look, the plastics are the, and I get, sometimes when I think about the planet and how we've been on it, I get a sense of, you know, like an animal with the ticks on it trying to, and you can't get in, it's all its skin's got raggedy. And I feel like it's just gone, right, that's it. Stop, the lot of you. You're in.
Yeah, I feel that too. I mean, one of the
Done.
better things of all of this has been the animals, and I've been sending you stuff, and I just think it's so amazing when I see all these animals who are like almost like peeping out, looking up, going, oh, no, no, so quiet. They've gone. We could
And
come
the,
out.
yeah,
I love it.
and the bees. There's been more bees.
I noticed that,
I love
considering it's just May. Yeah, so I just look at the animals and think, wow, good for you. Enjoy while you still can, because obviously it'll be back to normal soon. But good
what?
for
No,
them.
not necessarily.
Well, who knows? Who knows? We don't know when.
I think
But
the more we do not listen, the more it will carry on. You see, the fact that we're so desperate to get back to everything as it was,
no,
we're so desperate
shouldn't
that
be.
what we're going to do is we're going to create our own lockdown, but it's symptomatic of how we've been for years. We've just walked about with our mufflers on, and now we've been given instructions to do something that is something more than stuff for us. We've been given an instruction to care beyond ourselves. People aren't used to it, and they're going, well, when can I go out?
It's a very selfish
my ego
attitude,
needs,
isn't it? Mm.
I, and we're so programmed in it. We can't. How long before we get back to I'm bored, I need to get out? Really?
So many people have said that, yeah.
We've become.
And I'm hoping that people can change their attitude a little bit and actually sit down and think, I shouldn't be saying that. It's not about me. And I don't have to be bored. There's a lot of things I can do, things that I've maybe never tried before,
Yeah.
and wouldn't usually entertain because I'm so busy and I've got things to do. But now maybe I should look at that and think about a different way of living, a different way of looking at life.
Yeah.
So if that happens, I'll be happy.
Do you know
People
what, Jenny?
start behaving like that, I'll be really happy. Just that.
Do you know what, Jenny? I think this has become the great lockdown conversation. And I think with that, I'm quite happy to say, just from 2 UK women who live a relatively, I'd say, we're very fortunate that we've got our gardens, aren't we? Relatively modest.
We've got a bit of greenery. Yes. So we've got a bit of a quiet space,
yes,
which I think is a good thing, actually. And that's helped. But I like to think that even if I didn't have that, I'd still be resourceful enough to find other things to do, you know.
I know that
And
I
haven't been bored at all. I haven't been bored at all.
No.
There's a lot to do.
There is a lot to do. There's still too much. There's still too much to do.
Yeah.
So Jenny,
well, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. You'll find the time.
So I think do we send our love and best wishes to everybody in lockdown for our great.
I think sure. The light's dimming now. It's getting very late, so we should stop here. We'll be back.
We'll be back
with another topic and another take on life. So I'm going to say goodbye first because it's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute
joy. And thank you for this lovely talk today on this Sunday evening. And I will speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody that's watched. Love you loads. Have a great rest of the weekend for what's left.
Enjoy your lockdown.